The scream tore through the quiet Colorado suburb like a blade through silk, sharp and undeniable. Elena Martinez froze mid-step on her evening jog, her breath catching as the sound echoed from the old Miller house. It wasn't just pain in that cry. It was fear, raw and unfiltered, the kind that made your heart stutter and your feet move before your mind could catch up. She sprinted toward the source, her sneakers pounding the cracked sidewalk of Aspen Street. The Miller house, a two-story relic with peeling paint and a sagging porch, had been empty for years, until last week, when a moving truck rumbled in under the cover of dusk. Whispers had already spread through Juniper Hills. A new doctor, someone from out of state, had bought the place. No one knew much else, but in a town this small, mystery was as good as currency. Elena reached the front gate, her chest heaving. The scream had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. She hesitated, her hand hovering over the rusty latch. She was no hero, just a 28-year-old barista with a knack for fixing espresso machines and a heart still bruised from her last breakup. But something pulled her forward, a tug she couldn't name. She pushed the gate open and stepped onto the overgrown path. The front door was ajar, a sliver of warm light spilling onto the porch. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. No answer. She stepped inside, her eyes adjusting to the dim foyer. Boxes were stacked haphazardly, labeled with sharpest scrawls. Medical books, kitchen, Riley's stuff. The air smelled of dust and fresh paint, a house caught between ruin and renewal. Then she saw them, two figures in the living room, frozen like a tableau. A person, maybe 30, with a shaved head and sharp cheekbones, knelt beside an older woman slumped in a chair. The younger one's hands were steady, pressing a cloth to the woman's arm, but their eyes were wide with something close to panic. "I've got you, Mom," they whispered, voice low and urgent. "Just breathe." Elena's heart lurched. "Do you need help?" she blurted, stepping forward. The person's head snapped up, their gaze locking onto hers. For a moment, time seemed to stall. Their eyes, a deep hazel, held a storm of emotions. Fear, determination, and something softer, almost pleading. "I'm a doctor," they said, their voice steadying. "I've got this, but could you grab the first aid kit from the kitchen? It's on the counter." Elena nodded, her pulse racing as she darted to the kitchen. The kit was right where they said, a bright red case amid unpacked boxes. She rushed back, handing it over. The doctor, Riley, she assumed from the box labels, worked quickly, cleaning a deep cut on the older woman's arm. Elena noticed the woman's face, pale and lined with pain, but her eyes were sharp, watching Riley with a mix of pride and worry. "I'm Elena," she said, feeling the need to fill the tense silence. "I live a few blocks over." Heard the scream. "Riley," they replied, not looking up. "This is my mom, Diane." She tripped, hit her arm on a broken shelf. Diane let out a weak chuckle. "Clumsy old fool," she muttered, but her voice shook. Elena caught the glance Riley shot her. A warning, maybe, or something deeper. There was a story here, one that didn't quite add up. As Riley bandaged Diane's arm, Elena's eyes wandered the room. The house was a mess of contradictions. Modern furniture mixed with faded wallpaper, a stethoscope draped over a chair next to a dusty family photo. A rainbow flag sticker on a laptop caught her eye, subtle but unmistakable. Her stomach fluttered, a mix of curiosity and something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. "She'll be okay," Riley said, finally looking up. "Thank you, Elena. You didn't have to stop." "I couldn't just walk by," Elena said, her voice softer now. Their eyes met again, and this time, the air felt charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Riley's smile was small but genuine, and Elena felt her cheeks warm. Diane stirred, breaking the moment. "You're a good one, Elena," she said, her voice stronger now. "Not many would barge into a stranger's house like that." Elena laughed, rubbing the back of her neck. "Yeah, well, I'm not great at minding my own business." Riley's smile widened, and for a second, the tension in the room eased. But as Elena helped them tidy up, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The cut on Diane's arm was too clean, too deliberate. And Riley's hands, steady as they were, trembled when they thought no one was watching. As she left the house, promising to check in tomorrow, Elena glanced back. Riley stood in the doorway, their silhouette framed by the porch light. "Be careful out there," they called, their voice carrying a weight Elena couldn't yet decipher. She walked home under a sky bruised with stars, her mind racing. Who were Riley and Diane? Why had they come to Juniper Hills, a town that barely registered on maps? And why did her heart feel like it was waking up for the first time in years? The next morning, Elena woke with Riley's face burned into her mind. Those hazel eyes, that quiet strength. She told herself it was just adrenaline, the rush of last night's chaos. But as she poured coffee at Brew Haven, the local cafe, her thoughts kept drifting back to the Miller house. Juniper Hills wasn't the kind of place where secrets stayed buried. The town thrived on gossip, from who was cheating at the farmer's market to whose kid got caught sneaking beer. By noon, the cafe was buzzing with talk about the new doctor. "Heard they're from Chicago," said Mrs. Callahan. "A regular with a penchant for drama. Running from something, I bet. Nobody moves here without a reason." Elena bit her tongue, focusing on steaming milk. She didn't correct the they to Riley's pronouns. She barely knew them herself, but the rumors gnawed at her. When her shift ended, she found herself walking back to Aspen Street, a tray of muffins in hand as an excuse. Riley answered the door, looking exhausted but relieved. "Elena," they said, their voice warm, "didn't expect to see you so soon." "Brought these," she said, holding up the tray. "Figured you might need some carbs after last night." Riley's laugh was soft, almost shy. "You're a lifesaver. Come in." Inside, Diane was resting on the couch, a blanket draped over her. She waved weakly, her smile genuine but tired. "You're spoiling us," she said. "Careful or I'll start expecting daily deliveries." Elena grinned, but her eyes flicked to Riley. They were unpacking a box labeled medical supplies, their movements precise but guarded. She wanted to ask about last night. The scream, the cut, the tension, but something held her back. Instead, she helped them sort books, their hands brushing once as they reached for the same novel. The touch sent a jolt through her, and she caught Riley's quick glance, a spark of something unspoken. They talked as they worked, the conversation easy but careful. Riley was a trauma surgeon, they said, fresh from a residency in Chicago. They'd moved to Juniper Hills for a quieter life, to care for Diane, who had health issues. But their answers were vague, their smiles deflecting deeper questions. By the time Elena left, the sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the lawn. Riley walked her to the gate, their hands stuffed in their pockets. "Thanks for the muffins," they said, "and for not asking too many questions." Elena raised an eyebrow. "I'm nosy, but I'm not rude. You'll tell me when you're ready." Riley's expression softened, a mix of gratitude and something heavier. "You're different, Elena. This town, it's not what I expected." As she walked away, Elena felt the weight of their words. different. She wasn't sure what they meant, but she wanted to find out. She wanted to know Riley, their story, their fears, the secrets they carried like a second skin. That night, she lay awake, replaying every moment. The town's whispers were growing louder, and Elena knew she was stepping into something bigger than herself. But for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid. She was ready. The days blurred into a rhythm of small-town life, but Elena's world felt sharper, more alive, with Riley's presence. She found excuses to stop by the Miller house, dropping off coffee, offering to help with repairs, anything to steal a moment with them. Each visit peeled back another layer of Riley. Their dry humor, their love for old jazz records, the way their eyes lit up when they talked about medicine. But the shadows remained, lurking in their silences, in the way Diane's gaze followed them like she was bracing for something. One evening, as autumn leaves blanketed Juniper Hills, Elena arrived with a toolbox to fix a loose porch step. Riley greeted her with a tired smile, their sleeves rolled up, revealing a faint scar on their forearm. "You're gonna put me out of a job," they teased, nodding at the toolbox. "Someone's got to keep this place from falling apart," Elena shot back, kneeling by the step. As she worked, Riley sat nearby, handing her nails and stealing glances. The air was crisp, the sky a bruise of purples and oranges. For a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the world. "You ever think about leaving this place?" Riley asked suddenly, their voice low. "Juniper Hills, it's small." Elena paused, hammer in hand. "Sometimes, but it's home. My mom's here, my friends. It's not perfect, but it's mine." She glanced at them. "Why'd you pick it? You could have gone anywhere." Riley's jaw tightened, their gaze drifting to the horizon. "Needed a fresh start. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one knows us." The us hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Elena wanted to press, but the vulnerability in Riley's eyes stopped her. Instead, she changed the subject, asking about their favorite jazz artist. Riley's shoulders relaxed, and soon they were laughing, debating Miles Davis versus Ella Fitzgerald. But the ease didn't last. That night, as Elena walked home, she noticed a car parked across from the Miller house. A sleek black sedan, out of place in a town of rusty pickups. Its windows were tinted, and no one got out. Her stomach twisted, but she kept walking, telling herself it was nothing. The next day, the rumors at Brew Haven took a darker turn. "Heard the doctor's got a past," said Tommy, a local mechanic, nursing his coffee. "Chicago PD's been asking about someone matching their description. Something about a hospital scandal." Elena's blood ran cold. She didn't believe it, not fully. But the sedan, the scream, the scar on Riley's arm, it all added up to something. She confronted Riley that evening, her heart pounding as she stood in their living room. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear. "Are you running from something?" Riley's face paled, their hands clenching. Diane, sitting nearby, looked away, her fingers twisting the edge of her blanket. "Elena," Riley started, their voice barely above a whisper. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me," she pressed. "I'm not here to judge. I care about you." The words slipped out before she could stop them, raw and unguarded. Riley's eyes widened, and for a moment, they looked like they might bolt. But then they sighed, sinking onto the couch. "It's not my story to tell alone," they said, glancing at Diane. Diane nodded, her voice shaky but resolute. "I'm not Riley's mom," she said. "I'm their aunt. Their mom, she died years ago. I took Riley in when they were a kid, after things got bad. Elena sat, her mind reeling. Riley took a deep breath and continued. I grew up in Chicago, in a neighborhood where being non-binary wasn't exactly welcomed. My dad, he didn't take it well. Things got violent. Diane got me out, but it meant leaving everything behind. Elena's chest ached, a mix of anger and sorrow. And the hospital scandal? She asked gently. Riley's laugh was bitter. No scandal, just a coworker who didn't like me. Made accusations, said I was stealing meds. I was cleared, but the damage was done. People talk. I couldn't stay. Elena reached for their hand, her fingers brushing theirs. You don't have to run anymore, she said. Not here. Riley's eyes glistened, but they didn't pull away. For the first time, Elena saw them, really saw them, not just the doctor or the stranger, but the person carrying a lifetime of scars, visible and not. As she left that night, the black sedan was gone, but the unease lingered. Riley's story wasn't over, and neither was hers. She was falling for them, hard and fast, and that scared her more than any rumor. Weeks passed, and Elena and Riley fell into a fragile, beautiful rhythm. They'd meet for coffee, walk through the park, share quiet evenings fixing up the Miller house. Each moment felt like a stolen treasure, a defiance against the shadows that still hung over Riley. Elena learned the small things, the way Riley's nose crinkled when they laughed, how they hummed jazz tunes when nervous. But the big things, the secrets, stayed just out of reach. One chilly October evening, they sat on the porch, wrapped in a shared blanket, watching the stars. Elena's heart raced as Riley's shoulder pressed against hers. You ever feel like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? Riley asked, their voice soft. All the time, Elena admitted. But with you it's different. Like maybe the shoe doesn't have to fall. Riley turned, their eyes searching hers. Slowly, they leaned in, and Elena met them halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, then urgent, a release of everything they'd been holding back. When they pulled apart, Elena's breath hitched, her heart singing. But the moment shattered. A loud crash came from inside the house, followed by Diane's voice, sharp with panic. Riley! They rushed inside to find Diane clutching a phone, her face ashen. It's him, she whispered. He found us. Elena's stomach dropped. Who? Riley's jaw clenched. My father. He's been looking for me. For us. The story spilled out in fragments. Riley's father, a man with a temper and a long reach, had tracked them to Chicago years ago. Diane had helped Riley escape, but he'd never stopped searching. The black sedan, the rumors, it was all him circling closer. We need to leave, Diane said, her voice trembling. Tonight. No, Riley said, their voice firm. I'm done running. This is our home now. Elena's heart swelled with pride, but fear gnawed at her. What can I do? She asked. Riley looked at her, their eyes fierce. Stay. Just stay. She did. They spent the night planning, fortifying the house, calling the local sheriff for help. But as dawn broke, a new threat emerged. Not from Riley's father, but from the town itself. Word had spread about Riley's past, twisted by gossip into something ugly. At Brew Haven, Elena overheard whispers. Dangerous, troublemaker, not one of us. She confronted the loudest voice, Mrs. Callahan, her hands shaking with anger. You don't know them, she snapped. Riley's done nothing but help people. Mrs. Callahan scoffed. You're too young to understand, Elena. People like that bring trouble. Elena's face burned. People like what? Good people? Kind people? She stormed out, her resolve hardening. She wouldn't let Juniper Hills tear Riley down. That evening, she found Riley in the backyard, staring at the fairy lights they'd hung together. "They hate me, don't they?" Riley said, their voice hollow. "Not everyone," Elena said, stepping closer. "Not me." Riley's smile was small but real. "Your trouble, Elena Martinez. The best kind," she said, pulling them into a hug. As they held each other, Elena knew the fight was far from over. But for now they had this, their love, their defiance, their hope. The tension in Juniper Hills grew thicker than the November fog. Riley started working at the local clinic, their skills saving lives. A child's fever broken, an elder's heart steadied. But the town's goodwill was thin, eroded by rumors and fear. Elena stood by them, her presence a quiet rebellion against the whispers. She brought them lunch at the clinic, helped Diane with groceries, and ignored the stares. One night, as they painted the Miller house's living room, Elena noticed Riley's hands shaking. "Talk to me," she said, setting down her brush. Riley sighed, their eyes distant. "I thought I could outrun it. My past, my father, all of it. But it's here in the way people look at me, like I'm a threat." "You're not," Elena said fiercely. "You're the best thing that's happened to this town. To me." Riley's gaze softened, and they pulled her close, their foreheads touching. "I don't deserve you," they whispered. "Yes, you do," Elena said, her voice breaking. "We deserve each other." Their love was a lifeline, but danger was closing in. The black sedan reappeared, parked at the edge of town. Elena spotted it on her way to the clinic, its presence a silent threat. She told Riley, who nodded grimly. "He's testing us," they said, "seeing if we'll run." They didn't. Instead, they leaned on each other, building a fragile fortress of trust. Diane, stronger now, shared stories of Riley's childhood, their love for science, their courage in claiming their identity. Elena listened, her heart aching for the kid Riley had been and the person they'd become. But the town's hostility peaked at a community meeting. Mrs. Callahan stood, her voice dripping with venom. "We don't need outsiders bringing trouble," she said, her eyes on Riley. "This is a good town." Elena shot to her feet. "Good? You're tearing apart someone who's done nothing but help. Riley's one of us, whether you like it or not." The room fell silent, and Riley squeezed her hand under the table, their eyes shining with gratitude. But the victory was short-lived. That night, someone threw a brick through the Miller house's window, a note attached. "Leave." Riley's face was a mask of resolve, but Diane was shaken. "Maybe we should go," she said, her voice small. "No," Riley said, their voice steel. "This is our home. We fight for it." Elena nodded, her heart pounding. Together, they reported the incident to the sheriff, who promised to investigate. But Elena knew the real fight was bigger than one brick. It was about love, acceptance, and the courage to stand tall. As she held Riley that night, their breaths sinking in the dark, she vowed to protect what they'd built, no matter the cost. Winter descended on Juniper Hills, blanketing the town in snow and silence. But the storm inside was far from over. Riley's father was no longer a shadow. He was here. Elena saw him first, a tall man with cold eyes, standing outside the clinic watching Riley through the glass. Her blood froze, but she didn't run. She called the sheriff, who detained him for questioning. His name was Victor, and he claimed he just wanted to talk to his child. Riley wasn't buying it. "He doesn't talk," they told Elena, their voice tight. He controls. Always has. The confrontation came on a snowy December night. Victor showed up at the Miller house, pounding on the door. Riley opened it, Elena and Diane at their side. "You don't get to do this," Riley said, their voice steady. "Not anymore." Victor's face twisted with rage. "You think you can just erase me? I'm your father." "You stopped being that a long time ago," Riley said, their eyes blazing. Elena stepped forward, her hand in Riley's, a silent vow. The sheriff arrived before things escalated, but Victor's presence left a scar. The town, though, was shifting. Elena's stand at the meeting had sparked something. People started showing up at the clinic, not just for treatment but to thank Riley. A few even apologized, their voices awkward but sincere. Christmas Eve brought a quiet miracle. Elena and Riley decorated a small tree in the Miller house, Diane humming carols in the background. As snow fell outside, Riley pulled Elena close, their lips brushing in a kiss that felt like a promise. "I love you," Riley whispered, the words a gift. "I love you too," Elena said, her heart full. The next morning, they found a basket of baked goods on the porch, no note attached. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Juniper Hills was learning, slowly, what it meant to embrace difference. Victor was gone, at least for now, and Riley and Diane were staying. As Elena and Riley stood in the backyard, fairy lights glowing, they looked at the wooden signpost they'd carved together. "Love dares to rewrite our stories." It was true. Their love had changed everything. Not just their lives, but the heart of a town. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, built on courage, truth, and the stubborn belief that everyone deserves a home.